What is up guys, Greedy Knight here with a complete Charge Blade guide detailing every practical tech and tool in the morphing weapons arsenal. I'll be reviewing some old techs as well as some new ones. Let's get into the final Sunbreak guide for Charge Blade. The guard point is your bread and butter technique. When you're morphing between modes, the frames where your shield is in front of your hunter, you have active guarding frame. This will cancel your current action and allow you to side hop, load files, guard point, use a silkbind attack, or most importantly, use a super. Counter Morph Slash is the strictly better version of Morph Slash. You get an increase to file damage after a guard point, and your axe mode now gets a guard point timing similar to sword and shields. The only downside is if the monster misses your shield, you are left in a lengthier animation than Morph Slash. It is the best practice to guard point incoming attacks without needlessly morphing between modes. Condensed slashes depend on your playstyle, super spam and spinning axe. Their sets are built very differently, so you will equip the one corresponding to your playstyle. Condensed element slash grants mind's eye to your sword and shield attacks, and causes every sword and shield attack to generate file bursts. Super spam benefits the most from element slash. It stays in sword and shield mode anyways, and it peppers in extra damage as you slash the monster. Condensed spinning slash causes your axe mode to apply 5 additional ticks, turning your chops into a buzzsaw. Your spinning axe gains mind's eye, and every third spinning axe chop, you gain a file. This playstyle will stay in axe mode, only dipping into sword and shield to refuel on buffs, or to guard point as needed. Firing pin is a strict buff to the default. They are only applied while Condensed Element Slash is active, or while using a sword and shield file burst attack, i.e. X after a file load, or a shield burst. It applies 25% more file damage, it stacks up to 6 times into one hit zone, marking the hit zone with energy. It fades after 30 seconds. It will detonate when making contact with your axe chops or file bursts. Each file detonation recharges your red shield by 10 seconds. You can feasibly keep one red shield up for the entire hunt if you manage your pins and Condensed Element Slash. At worst, you cut down on the amount of times you recharge your shield during the course of the hunt. Counter Peak Performance is a counter move that blocks exactly one hit. On hit, it fills your 5 files, overriding any energy you had. It provides 3 shortcuts into an SAD, Condensed Slash, and Morph Slash. The SAD shortcut lets you get red shield charge at the start of a hunt, and serves as a super on demand, while the Condensed Slash will help you maintain element and spinning slashes while you are on the relevant scroll. The Morph Slash's main use is to be the fastest cancel option out of a counter peak performance. Compared to Condensed Element Slash, the Morphing Slash is faster and you take 1 less input to pop a super by hitting X plus A after morphing into axe mode. Secondly, the Morph Slash and SAD input can both be angled with a range of about 45 degrees in either direction, providing you better coverage combined with just the SAD. Some monsters like Diablos can blindside you from the sides, so having the option to cover these angles is useful to have. After you morph, Counter Morph Slash enables a guard point, providing extra safety after the Morph Slash. This interaction allows you to counter multi-part hits with delays. Ready Stance is a beefy guard point that lets you shortcut into either Sword and Shield mode or the Axe mode, ED2, which I've nicknamed the Double Chop. It will inflict a file burst when you have shield charge and correctly time your ready stance. It provides a guard point for axe mode while maintaining Condensed Spinning Slash. It is the feature silkbind attack for a spinning axe as a playstyle, since you can spam double chops, so long as you have wire bugs. Medium and heavy knockback will always revert you to sword and shield mode, basically more than 10 points of knockback from an attack. Lastly, you can ready stance in any direction, so swivel in the direction of incoming attacks. Between using counter peak performance and ready stance is able to guard multi-hit attacks. Morphing Advance is the positioning silkbind attack of Charge Blade, one that has been needed for a few installments now. You toss out a wirebug and zipline in the direction of the wirebug. It covers more than half of the monster's body, enabling you to reposition to any body part. You can line up your SADs along the monster's spine, resulting in consistent 5-file SADs. You can use a double chop after relocating to good hit zones like the monster's head for a spinning axe. If you thread the wire bug through a monster's thin part like an arm or a wing, you can phase through the body part that you normally could not walk or evade through. This tech is called wire bug phasing. It solves a majority of problems that Charged Blade had in previous games and is the move to gain mastery of. You have a few moves in both modes to help you position in the absence of a wire bug. Sword and Shield has Fade Slash to scoot omnidirectionally, so you can line up your supers in the absence of a wire bug, Advancing Slash to close the distance between you and the monster, and Side Hops to microspace, or cancel into other attacks. Axe mode has the Advancing Chop to close the distance, and the ED1, aka the Burst Chop, to inch towards the monster with offense. Both moves combo into the double chop. Your default evade lets you reset advancing attacks and morphing events. Lastly, swap evade covers a substantial distance and combos into other positioning options. Between these options and morphing events, evade extender is primarily a quality of life skill. The only time you do quote unquote need it is if you are swapping off morphing events for air dash. Air dash enables aerial double chops. It's the best source of riding damage for spinning axe and has a decently powerful file burst as a finisher. Also, if you land with a regular chop, you can combo straight into a double chop once on the ground. However, there are a few notable weaknesses. It swaps with morphing events, so you will need evade extender to compensate for the lack of mobility in axe mode. It requires good back/vertical hit zones to output better damage than grounded chops. The super armor damage is obnoxiously bad until you gain access to Berserk sets and Intrepid Heart. It's best practice to use it during openings instead of through attacks. Now the main viability for air dash is with Giratodus, the Kadakis, Zinogre, and the Valstraxes. This is because they fill the criteria of having shit ground hit zones and good vertical hit zones. Most monsters have their 45 plus hit zones face close to the ground, making ready stance and morphing events double chops consistent, meaning there isn't a real reason to swap out for air dash except in these named matchups. Axe Hopper enables aerial SAEDs. It is a fun move and provides riding damage for super spam, but it has fallen from grace. With the meta SAD builds discouraging scroll swapping, you are locked to one scroll and you are forced to pick between Counter Peak Performance and Axe Hopper. The clear winner in every situation is Counter Peak Performance. Axe Hopper's main sell is that you have aerial SADs but your files, your main source of damage, are grounded. You would have to use an AED to land a file on vertical hit zones. Axe Hopper does not buff the file motion values, so they are the same as every other SAD and AED. Since it takes longer to pop an SAED, it has less DPS than both Counter Peak Performance and Morphing Advance SADs. Lastly, Morphing Advance replaces Axe Hopper in meta builds because it allows you to reposition for supers, the only other thing that Axe Hopper had going for it. Yellow energy combos revolve around the threshold of 36 energy. Assuming you land every hit, you will always get yellow energy and thus 3 files when you file load. With load shells, these combos will provide 5 files instead, optimizing your energy/file gathering for SAED. At some point, these combos should be second nature if you are using super spam. Red energy is for non-load shelled builds. These revolve around 45 energy, converting to red energy and 5 files. Whenever load shells is present on a build, you want to avoid red energy as much as possible. 2 charge slashes are enough to get red energy, but you cannot chain them together directly. You have to use a filler input to connect them in a combo, like the round slash or a side hop. Counter Peak Performance is your best shortcut to 5 files since it fills your files on hit. Counter any easy to read moves and then get your buffs activated. The threshold for the overheat state is 60 energy or 3rd charge slash. This state causes your sword strikes to bounce unless you have condensed element slash active. The ways to get rid of it are to load your files or use Counter Peak Performance. This is why you load your files after each combo so you never encounter the overheat state. Red Shield Charge is a buff that must be maintained throughout the hunt. It provides a multiplier to axe hits, enables the SAED, condensed element slash, and firing pin. Adds file explosions to your guard points on certain attacks, and increases your guarding power by 10, for a total guarding power of 35. Each file stored converts to 30 seconds, totaling 2 minutes and 30 seconds using 5 files, 90 seconds using 3 files. The shield will flicker at the 30-second mark, meaning you will need to refuel on shield charge. These combos are your main paths to red shield. Basically, if you can input an SAD, you can charge your shield. As a bonus, you always end in the round slash to get your shield charge, so that means you have safety in a guard point. The SAD playstyle revolves around file damage being one of the few playstyles to ignore the crit meta, scaling solely on raw for impact file and element for element file. The builds reflect this, trying to pump either stat as high as possible while having the room to run full functional skills to optimize charge blade. The main idea is to red shield up, dump files, repeat. The bread and butter SAD combos are identical to the yellow energy and shield charge combos. Just remove the round slash input whenever you want to unleash damage. The SAD will unleash 5 shockwaves in a cone-shaped pattern. After any SAD, you will always be morphed to axe mode, unless you get hit before the morph finishes. Your DPS will depend on how often you can repeat this loop. More SADs equals more DPS. The quote-unquote expectation with Charge Blade Mastery is to land all 5 files every time you let an SAD rip, but you need to practice to make this expectation a reality. Condensed Spinning Slash falls in line with the meta crit build. Similar to SAED, your brain will revolve on one move, but not the SAD this time. It's the ED2. You want to rev up as many of these double chops on the monster as possible, resetting your shield and files as necessary. Target the head or any 45 plus cutting hit zone for maximum damage, worrying about element after the fact since cutting and crits hold more weight here. You can mix and match your combos to unleash a flurry of ticks, files, and chops. If at any point you are out of wire bugs, you can use counter more slash to emergency guard point. These are your maintenance combos for Spinning Axe. They are designed to refuel on files and shield charge with minimal inputs. You only need yellow energy / 3 files to maintain Spinning Axe damage, since 3 double chops generates 2 files, allowing you to work with 5 files by technicality. Once you drop down to 2 files, you can morph to Sword and Shield early to reload on 5 files. After any double chop, you can input an SAD by tapping the A button a 3rd time, and then cancel into a round slash to recharge shield. Silkbind attack cancelling is cancelling the end lag of your current action with the Silkbind attack. It allows you to combo your SBAs from any attack, improving your safety and damage output. You can combo a file load into a counter peek or ready stance, making one of your more vulnerable inputs safe on reaction. You can eliminate the end lag of a move like the double chop by inputting a ready stance after the 2nd swing has ended. The only caveat is that a Silkbind attack cannot cancel another Silkbind attack. You need a filler input like an evade or attack to chain 2 Silkbind attacks in relatively rapid succession, like Morphing Advance followed by an evade into another Morphing Advance. File stacking is a key part of SAD and can be used for Spinning Axe as well. You gather 5 files and then store red/yellow energy on top of that. For super spam, you can dump your files and then file load to dump another set. This is most useful for when the monster trips, allowing you to dump 2 supers with minimal downtime. Depending on the length of the down, you can sneak in a 3rd super. As for Spinning Axe, you grab red energy and then get a free reload as soon as you revert to Sword and Shield. It is less useful because ready stance and guards already let you store energy whenever you guard, so you might cause an overload state if you tank too many hits. The basic premise of the target guard is to use a guarding option in conjunction with the target mechanic. Hold down guard, then tap the target button to swivel in that direction. Ready stance inverts the input, forcing you to input target to swivel in that direction, and then put up your shield. It lets you deal with monsters that have multi-part attacks like Espinos and Rathian. Be wary of using this tech on Chameleos because you won't be able to lock onto him directly while he is invisible. Guard point stacking is just executing multiple guards and guard points in response to the monster's combo. Every attack met with the guard point pops a file burst, so for maximum time attack damage, you should be guard pointing everything that can't be met with a super or double chop. For a basic application, you can hold the guard button and upgrade it into a guard point by pressing X at the right time. If you are late to react, you are still guarding, only punishing an early guard point. As you get consistent, just guard point without needing to guard. This pairs well with target guarding. Reverse Guard Point Super is a super jank version of the Guard Point SAD. The idea is to wait for a monster to do a single charge move, you turn around, and because of your guard's jank hit detection, then you can guard point the charge, resulting in you facing the monster with the counter morph / boosted super ready to go. You can swap the guard point for a counter peek, but the attack must be one hit to SAED safely. This does not work on every charge. From my testing, it for sure works on Teostra's and Kushala's aerial charges. The SAD window is a confirmed opening for your super. As you climb into tougher ranks, every flinch and part break must be earned. You unleash your files without relying on flinch based openings. Instead, you pop your SAD whenever the monster gives you a quote unquote natural opening that can be used in any rank. This requires Rapid Morph 3 since it boosts your SAD's frame data by 10% along with the appropriate levels of guard, embolden, and guard up to ensure you can pop an SAD after having tanked the monster's combo. You use Morphing Advanced Supers, Guard Point Stacking, Reverse Guard Points, and Target Guard to pop supers during a monster's combos. First of all, these are timing based. If you are even a few seconds off, most SAD windows disappear before you can drop your files, resulting you in getting decked in the face. Secondly, a fair number of them are positioning based. If you are poorly positioned, a hitbox can snipe your ankle or back, hitting you out of the SAD window, and animation. Lastly, they are based on the enhanced states. For example, the base version of a combo could be a true SAD window, while the enhanced version of this combo will stop being a true SAD combo because it gets extended or they shorten the amount of time between attacks. It takes practice and experience to learn and identify every window, so you just look for general patterns to adapt to a monster's moveset rather than memorize it. Leave the memorizing to the time attackers. Like if this video was useful to you, this is my last Charge Blade guide on Sunbreak, so if you want to see more content like this, then go back and watch the videos linked down below. All builds and guides are now final. It was a pleasure making these videos for Sunbreak. I'll continue my Charge Blade journey over in Worldborn and eventually Wilds. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.